Well, we got a little bit of an update. I decided I'm just pulling that crazy bag off of here, because if anybody's interested enough to watch these videos, they deserve to see the motor without a bag on it. But anyway, we got this thing set up pretty good. Basically, the bottom end rotating assembly is completely assembled. We don't have our lifters in. We don't have our... Basically, we're going to try to run this low mileage comp double roller chain, but I am not satisfied with the way it's degreeing, because this 422 cam comp 422 hydraulic roller set up for boost has 114 lobe separation angle, and they're requesting, or they're suggesting, you install that bad boy at 110 intake center line. Well, even retarding 4 degrees on the crank gear, we're only hitting 106.5 on the intake center line, so it really, I don't know. And that chain has some really strange tight spots in it. We've soaked it in oil, we've WD-40'd it, we've tried to lubricate it as best we can, but that chain just doesn't seem to be jiving, doesn't want to act right. So rather than take the chance, go ahead and spend the other, what is it, 40 or 50 bucks or whatever, to go ahead and get a brand new comp timing chain for it. That way everything's matched up and you don't have to worry about hurting anything. But we got our degree wheel set up and our little nut behind the wheel that you turn the motor over with, just in case any of you don't know how this all works, because we don't have the fancy comp nut, because that comp cam sells a crank turning fixture that slips on just like that huge nut right there, but has a little mandrel or like a area on the front that you connect your wheel. I usually just throw that on there, throw that bolt through the middle with a rubber spacer aka hose, tighten it down to where the wheel won't move, rotate the engine. Anyway, we had it set up, we had the engine set at top dead center number 1 with the indicator, set our wheel, and then we're, I don't know if any of you guys have ever even gone through the degreeing the cam process, but here's how we had our dial indicator set up on the outer lip of our lifter so we could get a pretty accurate reading. Cam is in there. You got a really good deal on that cam too. But I just want to let you guys take a better look at that 4.3 build, since it seems like every time I make a movie we've already put the stupid bag on it to keep the dirt out of it. But tell you what, for $100, when I bought it, it was only $100, and it was the older degreeing kit. But that comp cam degree kit I bought came with a damn VHS tape. That's how old it was. It told you how to degree cams. Man, it's more than paid for itself, probably 100 times over, degreeing all kinds of motors. But something I wanted to show you guys, these crazy valve springs. The valve springs, and we cannot verify the part number on them yet, but they have a 1.455 top diameter. Let's see if I can get over and get a better angle. But here's the funny part. It is an upside down conical valve spring. In other words, the part that goes down towards the cylinder head is 1.290 diameter. Flip it over. That smaller size, which is quite a bit smaller than the top, it's hard to tell from this angle, is the bottom of the valve spring, and I mean fits the stupid pocket perfectly. Flips over and matches this hardened steel retainer. So if anybody knows for sure what part number this valve spring is. Is this valve spring crane? Is it an old comp design? I have no clue. My intentions, because again, these springs were run on a comp 412 cam hydraulic roller for really low mileage. We're talking like 1,000, not more than maybe 1,500 miles. And both cams have a very similar lobe lift. I believe this cam over here is 500 on the intake, 510 exhaust. Maybe just a smidgen more with the 152 rockers, and you guys can do the math. It adds almost 6 thousandths of an inch lift with that 1.52. But the other cam that we're comparing it to, that these valve springs, I got a bag of them right here. I just pulled one out so you guys can see them. But they were run on that same 500 lift cam. One indication is an old comp number we found, which almost match the dimensions, but not quite, because it ended up being a true beehive spring with a much smaller, literally like 1 inch, 1.05 top instead of 1.29 deep. We're talking 1 inch compared to over 1.25 inches for this one. But we'd really like to have these checked out at a reputable machine shop, or if you guys have any suggestions on where I can buy a cheap valve spring pressure checker. I'm not above, or I'm not too good to put one of them in a vise and check these things myself, because I don't mind doing that, because then I know it's done to my satisfaction and I know the numbers are right. But comp recommends a dual valve spring for this 422 cam. I think it's a 986 or 987 valve spring, which is a dual, which being that it's a turbo build, I wouldn't mind having a dual valve spring on there just because of the higher cylinder pressures. But the argument being made at this point is that these springs were already run on the same, basically the same motor. We've just upgraded a few things and ported the heads. Well into the mid 12 second range, running these exact valve springs. So, if I take that and check the pressures on them, if I'm rocking 130 on the seat at 1.7, 1.75, and have a decent 290 to 300 at 500 lift, I'll probably run them. Because, that's just, that's a really good savings as far as machining cost, to not have to take those heads in and have the spring seats cut out to the larger diameter and all that good stuff. But also I'm worried about installed height, because you start changing springs. If he don't have the exact right valve for his head, he'll have to buy longer stem valves to hit that, because most of the heads nowadays, especially the Vortex, they don't like to do much cutting down in the spring seat. They'll cut the diameter larger for a larger diameter spring, but they don't like to cut down in towards the port, which makes you have to get a longer valve stem to hit these higher installed heights. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll take and get this pressures checked on this crazy, I'm going to call it an inverted conical valve spring. I don't know. It's a pretty neat design. Kind of the opposite of a beehive. But if it's got the right spring pressures and it's still pretty consistent and across the board, we're probably going to go ahead and run them in the old V6 turbo. So anyway, I wanted you guys to get a little bit better update, kind of see where we were at. We're kind of in a lull because I had other projects or other business I needed to work on for a few days, and Richard, the owner of the motor, he's been gone quite a bit with work, so don't give up on it. We're going to get this thing going. Probably he's wanting to have it in the car and run him in about 3 weeks, so things should start picking up here pretty quick, and we should get some more videos up showing some more progress. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully I'm working better on my monotone, because my wife makes fun of me, says I sound like a monotone person, and I'm trying to put a little bit more enthusiasm into the speaking, because I'm not used to speaking on camera, of course. But anyway, one day I'll get an actual camcorder with a tripod, and God forbid you guys will have to see me on camera. That'll be interesting. So anyway, that's the 4.3 build. That's where we're at, and keep watching. I'll keep building, hopefully make some power, and help you guys make some power too.